Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video today, I will be talking even more about the Markiplier lore. Before we begin, I just want to say I know I haven't uploaded in a couple days, but that's just because I've been working on a project that I've told y'all about a while back. I've already said this on my latest community post, but pretty much I've hidden the release date in one of my past videos. Here's a little hint, it's not a Minecraft or a Markiplier theory video. But with that said, let's continue on with the video. So, in one of my latest Markiplier theories, I've noticed that I've said the word universe and timeline a lot. And after I released that video, I thought to myself, what is the difference between the Markiplier universes and the Markiplier timelines? Whenever I say timeline, do I mean the same thing as universe? Or what is truly the difference between the two if they aren't the same thing? And after thinking about it for a little bit longer, I came to the conclusion that universes and timelines in the Markiplier lore are two different things. Let me explain. Now, a universe is pretty self-explanatory. Almost everything that is being made in pop culture nowadays has a universe, or if it's superhero stuff, it most likely has a multiverse as well. Like Mega Man has its own universe in its own world. I don't know why Mega Man was the first thing that comes to my mind, but Sonic the Hedgehog has his own universe. Captain America has the whole Marvel universe with him. All the things that are canon within that universe. That's pretty obvious. I probably didn't even need to say any of that, but still. And as for the Markiplier lore doesn't have just a universe, but it also has a whole multiverse. A multiverse that ends up collapsing and being destroyed in space with Markiplier before everything gets reset at the end. We know for sure that there is a multiverse in the Markiplier lore because it literally says that the multiverse is littered with the corpses of your failures. Plus, in Space with Markiplier, especially part 2 of In Space with Markiplier, we get to go through many universes. Galaxies? What are those? Never heard of them. It's all about the universes and multiverses nowadays. Mario Galaxy, more like Mario Multiverse. But with all that out of the way, let's move on to what a timeline is in the Markiplier lore. Now, you might think that every universe has one timeline, therefore making the universe and the timelines pretty much the same exact thing. But actually, in the Markiplier lore, each character has their very own timeline. And the reason I think this is because in the Wilford Motherloving Wharfstash livestream breakdown Markiplier did, he said that for Abe, the events of Wilford Motherloving Wharfstash takes place exactly right after the events of Who Killed Markiplier. Meanwhile, you have Wilford Wharfstash over here. He's had years and years go by before the events of Wilford Motherloving Wharfstash. And that just goes to show that even though you can put each Markiplier video that is in the Markiplier lore universe in its own timeline, there's still different time jumps in between each video for each character. Another example of this is with the Damien video. Since the Damien video takes place in Damien and Celine's head, it wouldn't be on Wilford Wharfstash's or Abe's or Actor Mark's timeline. Now, if the Damien video actually physically happened in the actual Markiplier lore world, then that would be different because that actually genuinely happened. And yes, the Damien video did actually happen, but it only happened mentally, never physically. So for the Damien video specifically, that video would only fit in the timelines for Celine, Damien, Actor Mark, and Darkiplier. So yeah, no matter what universe in the Markiplier lore, everybody has their own timeline. Although, for the Markiplier lore universe specifically, the characters' timelines in that universe are so similar to where you can pretty much put the videos in order and it will still make sense for mostly everybody. The main thing that changes in all these Markiplier egos and Markiplier characters' timelines is mainly just the time jumps in between each video. And you might be thinking, oh, that's not how timelines work in real life. In almost everything else in the world, pop culture related, timelines and universes are pretty much the exact same thing. Well, that's not the case for the Markiplier lore, because something you always have to keep in mind whenever theorizing about the Markiplier lore is this one thing that keeps on being proved time and time again, specifically in the Wilfred Motherloving Wharfstash video. And of course, I'm talking about the fact that the Markiplier lore just straight up isn't realistic. The Markiplier lore feels and acts like it takes place in either Markiplier's head or in a series of YouTube videos, which is kind of meta in itself. If you're still kind of confused or if you don't believe me, then just watch Markiplier's 2-hour live stream where he pretty much explains everything about the Wilfred Motherloving Wharfstash video. That video is my main proof of evidence. But anyways, let's move on to reading some comments. Now, in my last video, I tried to predict what the future of the Markiplier lore will be. And I also asked y'all to comment any ideas that y'all have for any future Markiplier projects. So without further ado, let's see what
you, the viewer,
has to say. So Sam says, don't forget Underwater with Markiplier. So for those of y'all who don't know, whenever In Space with Markiplier Part 1 was first being premiered, Markiplier changed the thumbnail to be Under the Ocean with Markiplier. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a future project. So next up, Excalvaristic says, I would really love to see the next project that I call the Battle of Markiplier Egos. That will be super epically funny. It would be really cool to see how Markiplier would be able to pull that off, considering the fact that he literally plays every single ego. I can imagine it already. Actor Mark, who's already possessing Damien's body, walks into his mansion one day, and the first thing he's greeted with is Darkiplier. They start throwing hands and boxing each other, and then all of a sudden Wilfred Wharfstash comes in, pulls out a gun, and tries to shoot him. That would definitely be a more unique Markiplier project. LM Studios and Tapes says, maybe like on a train with Markiplier, like the train Will said in Wilfred Motherloving Wharfstash. Maybe we, the viewer, is sent on a train with Actor Mark and meet Will and Abe on the train alone, and Actor tells us to like split up, and that makes Actor nearly kill them, and we stop him, and the reason we're on there is because we're stealing coal, like a prequel to a heist with Markiplier. So the scene from Wilfred Motherloving Wharfstash is actually a reference to a whole nother movie.
It may seem like an off-the-cuff joke, but this is a very clear reference to Midnight on the Orient Express. Wait, no. Yeah, Murder on the Orient Express. That is very clearly a reference to Murder on the Orient Express.
But just because that was a little reference to another movie doesn't mean that we can't have a Markiplier project that takes place on a train. I actually think that's a really, really cool idea. With the way LM Studios describes it, it gives me kind of Who Killed Markiplier vibes, where it's like first person with all the other Markiplier alter egos with you. And I can really see that being the big next Markiplier project. That does seem really, really cool. Now this next comment I'm going to be showing y'all isn't a Markiplier project idea, but it is really important and it's something that I kind of need to mention. So Amazing Purple Girl says, hey, as I said before, that detective in the horror route is not Abe. His actor, Mick, has confirmed this. It is canon that it's not Abe. And she later went on to say that Mick confirmed it on Twitter. Now, I personally don't have Twitter, so I can't see the actual tweet itself. But this really confuses me because, like I said in my past theory, Stan the Waterman's universe, in that universe it is canon that all the Markiplier lore are just fairy tales and books and nighttime stories. So if a horror with Markiplier is one of those books, it's most likely canon to the Markiplier lore universe. And so how is that not Abe? It just kind of throws a wrench in the whole timeline thing and all that. But But at the end of the day, this doesn't change the fact that I want to see Abe face off with Markiplier. Come on, Markiplier, make it happen. And next up will be our final comment for today. Sorry if I butcher your name, but Chaos Cards Official says, I believe that it's possible both crystals may be different ones, as it is told to us in Space with Markiplier that there are more than one. That does make sense in a heist with Markiplier, considering the fact that whenever there's two crystals in one universe, there seems to be a paradox that's detected, and that could help explain why a zombie apocalypse randomly happened, or why all this other weird stuff happens in a heist with Markiplier. Perhaps Darkiplier is holding onto a crystal, and he can only use it to go to the end of space and time, which we see in Space with Markiplier. I believe this happens because Darkiplier was supposed to be dead, and the universe he comes from is a singularity event in which he lives. Perhaps in the Damien video, when Actor Mark said the right people started pointing fingers at the wrong people, he meant that other people were supposed to die in other universes. Damien dies, the Colonel is arrested, and Actor Mark takes over the detective's body, which is the Neuer Markiplier universe. Or maybe the detective is arrested and the Colonel is Actor Mark's vessel. That is honestly crazy to think about, although I'd assume that the Colonel would be Actor Mark's vessel instead of the detective, leading to the universe where he looks like Solid Snake from Metal Gear, perhaps in a universe where Actor Mark actually dies. That's how Mac became captain of the Invincible 2. A lot of universes, and at least the majority of them, Damien and or perhaps Celine died as well. Maybe Darkiplier, in a sense, is the entity of the house keeping himself alive while figuring out how to stop the madness. Yeah, with all this multiverse stuff, there's almost like infinite possibilities on what this could be. If Abe gets a prequel with Markiplier, it is most likely the latter will be his own character with an actual name. Seeing as Mark and Abe were buddies, it doesn't fit with the MOs of anybody we know, probably not even Yancey. You may disagree. I would like to see your reasoning if you do. Well, that problem might be solved with the comment I read earlier from Amazing Purple Girl saying how that wasn't Abe. Although I do think Markiplier is his very own ego, I don't think he's Yancey or Actor Mark in disguise or anything like that. I'd also like to remind you the crystal changes size. When it was on the captain's hand, it was small, but when the engineer Mark pried it off, it became bigger. So size shouldn't be too much of an issue.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I never really noticed that, to be honest. And with that said, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.